Healthcare workers are some of the most important workers in the world today. They put themselves through a mixing bowl of different emotions and physical struggles every day at work to benefit others. People should hold those who are fighting against this disease in high regard and try to minimize their burden if at all possible. The sad truth is that healthcare workers are being forced to receive a vaccine that has been rapidly produced with little prior testing. Those who are unwilling to take the mysterious potion have been driven out of healthcare by the mandate. Is this fair for humans? I don't believe so. I don't believe in a forced mandate, and neither should you. In the past, vaccines were not made mandatory by the government and different facilities. It was up to the person to make their own personal decision on whether they received the vaccination or not. Now, there has not been that option for healthcare workers today. Locally here, big hospital organizations such as Freighter and Aurora have mandated that all their employees must get the vaccine. Being forced to get a newly untested drug goes against what healthcare workers have been taught. Not only did this occur in our hospitals, but it also spread to other businesses, causing vast job shortages. This led to a shortage of employees to fill critical positions in hospitals all around the United States. Healthcare workers who did not agree with the mandate were forced to make a decision. Some decided that they would walk away entirely from their career, but luckily some were able to take long-term leaves of absence to avoid having to receive the vaccine and lose their job altogether. I believe that a person must feel very strongly against something where they are willing to just walk away from a career they've worked so hard for throughout the years. Who has the final say when it comes to a release of a vaccine? The United States government. They allowed a newly produced vaccine to be rolled out to the public in a matter of a few months. This may not sound important to some, but it should. To put this into perspective, the next fastest vaccine to be released took several years of testing before it was released to the public. This brief time for release of an untested drug should concern every person in this room. Ask yourself, what do we not know about this vaccine? The bone-chilling answer should be, we know absolutely nothing yet. The group that most needed to be protected by the vaccine was not necessarily the group of healthcare employees that were mandated to get this vaccine. It was actually the elderly who were out of the healthcare work position already that would have benefited from this mandate from having to get the vaccine. But the younger generation who is still working in healthcare and with a high functioning immune system would have no problem overcoming COVID in most scenarios. So why should they be forced to put a chemical into their body when they're not even the high risk group? Sadly, employees who were given the vaccine did not always benefit from receiving it either. Sometimes they were still sick with COVID-19 and were forced to miss weeks of work. In other situations, which was worse, cases arose where healthcare workers received the shot began to have complications linked to the vaccines that negatively altered their lives. If I asked anybody here if they were a law-abiding citizen, I would imagine that nearly all of you would say yes, except for maybe a handful of troublemakers. A healthcare employee who had been forced to take the vaccine was actually doing something that was illegal. What was broken? The 14th Amendment, a staple principle in our government. In short, the 14th Amendment states that we cannot abridge immunities of citizens as pointed out by Rothstein and his associates. The state must make special exemptions in regard to public health before any mandate can be put into place, where many hospitals around the country illegally mandated a vaccine before the state allowed this exception. The only legal sidestep to becoming vaccinated was directly infringing on a section of the First Amendment. In the 1990s, Rothstein and his associates point out that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of religious freedoms. This makes forcing the vaccine on religion, which does not support the vaccine, to be illegal. This led to a Supreme Court ruling that mandates put in place had been going against religious freedom of speech. I believe that hardworking Americans should be able to not only be able to exercise their religious freedoms, but their own personal views and mandate against their own better judgment. Healthcare workers should be able to make their own decisions about what vaccines they take. We trust them to make important decisions for us when we are sick, so why shouldn't we trust them to choose their own decisions when they have to get a vaccination or not? The vaccination goes against everything that is great about America. It takes away our freedoms to make our own decisions about our own lives. We should know what is best for our own health and not some board somewhere that is mandating what we should do. In short, stand up for what you believe in and not someone else.